330FH. And I'm told this is the time set for a plea that will be entered. And Mr. Freeman, would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Jackson. And Mr. Jackson, I presume this is a plea to the charge?
Yes, Your Honor, with no upfront jail at the time of sentencing. I think the prosecutor will put it on the record.
Sure, we'll get to that in a moment. Ms. Allen, first, would you just read the charge?
In the people of the state of Michigan versus Brandon Freeman, file 21-330-FH, State of Michigan, County of Ingham. In the name of the people of the state of Michigan, the prosecuting attorney for this county appears before the court and informs the court that on or about November 11th, 2020, at West Saginaw and Fitting Avenue, Lansing Township, Ingham County, the defendant did in count 1 commit the offense of carrying a concealed weapon. That he did carry a dangerous weapon, to wit, a Smith & Wesson gun, whether concealed or otherwise in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, to wit, a 2008 white Mazda, contrary to Michigan law. This is a felony punishable by up to 5 years or $2,500, mandatory forfeiture of weapon or device, and was committed against the peace and dignity of the state of Michigan.
Mr. Freeman, you're being charged here with carrying a pistol in an automobile. That is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. If you were on parole at the time of the offense, it would be a mandatory consecutive sentence. Have you had enough time to talk about this charge with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand the charge against you?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any questions at all about what we're doing today?
No questions.
Okay, and how do you want to plead?
I plead guilty.
Okay, if your plea of guilty is accepted by this court, it means you won't have a trial of any kind, and you'll be giving up the rights that go along with a trial. That means you're giving up the right to have a trial by jury, or if you didn't want jury, trial by judge. You're giving up the right to be presumed innocent and to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And you'll be giving up your right to have the witnesses against you appear at a trial and to be able to cross-examine them, as well as the right to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the trial. You'll also give up your right to remain silent at the trial and not to have your silence used against you, or in the alternative, your right to testify at the trial if you wanted to. There's also a couple things that are different on appeals. When you plead guilty, one is that you don't get an automatic right to have the higher court look at your case. Instead, you have to ask them to look at it, and they would have to agree. And then the other thing that's different, when you plead guilty, there are many issues that you cannot appeal. Unlike when people go to trial, if they get convicted, they can appeal pretty much everything. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, if I accept your plea, it means you cannot come back later on and try to say that the plea was the result of some promise or threat that nobody told me about today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
It also means you will not be able to come back later on and try to say that it really wasn't your own choice to plead guilty today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And now, is there a plea agreement, Ms. Allen?
There is, Your Honor. Today, the defendant is pleading guilty to the charge. The parties agree, pursuant to People versus Killebrew, that he will receive no further upfront jail. And I phrase it that way because there may have been some overlap with the probation violation and this bond, but there won't be any further according to the agreement. Thank you.
All right. Is that a full and complete statement, Mr. Jackson?
It is, Your Honor. Thank you.
And Mr. Freeman, is that your understanding of the agreement as well?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree with it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, there's an agreement about your sentence, as you just heard the prosecutor say, and that is that you would receive no upfront jail on this sentencing. If for some reason I decided not to go along with that, I'd tell you before I sentenced you, and I'd give you a chance, if you wished, to take back your plea and start all over. You got all that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, has anyone promised you anything else that has not been said here right now in order to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone used any threats to get you to plead guilty?
No, I do have a question though on the date in question. I know it's kind of lawful for an officer to lie, like not lie, but bend the truth, I guess, to for their arrest. I was told that that it wasn't going to be put in the police report as long as I would go along with the arrest for the probation violation. But that was by the officer. But I don't know if that counts for anything. I'm pretty sure it's not a promise or anything. I was just making sure.
Well, if you had some legal claim about that, you'd be giving up your legal claim by pleading guilty. If that's just a fact that you would like me to know about, you'll have a chance to give your side of things at the sentencing. Does that clarify for you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is this your own choice then to plead guilty to this charge?
Yes, it is.
And are you pleading guilty because you believe you are in fact guilty of this offense?
Yes.
Okay, then tell me about November 11 of last year. What did you do?
Okay. Well, I was driving. I was doing DoorDash. I was on my way to. I believe I was on my way to drop off some food or pick up some food. I kind of misconstrued it right now. I kind of forgot. But I was doing DoorDash. I got stopped for not having insurance on the vehicle, and also I think it was speeding. I never received a ticket for the speeding, but or I never got in trouble for the insurance thing because the car was insured and stuff like that. I made sure I gave them the right information. Upon getting pulled over, I said the officer asked if I had any firearms in the car, standard stuff. He asked for my name and stuff like that. I gave him my name and I told him, yes, I do have a legal firearm in the car, which was purchased from Total Firearms in Mason. I thought that I was just exercising my rights and stuff like that, but I wasn't doing it in the right manner. I was ignorant to the laws and stuff like that. I had one chambered on accident. The clip was not in the in the firearm, but it was one chambered, which I had no knowledge of before I walked out of the house, so I wouldn't have done that. So
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then it pretty much just proceeded as such.
I understand. So you had a pistol in the car, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew it was there because you had placed it there.
Yes, ma'am. It was legal. I thought that I was carrying it right because in Michigan we are an open carry state, and they say when you ride with the pistol you have to have it in a lockbox. And at the time I did not. I wasn't aware of this. I had it separated. I had the gun separated from the clip, and I thought that was adequate enough.
Right. Even open carry doesn't allow you to carry it in the vehicle if you don't have if you're not carrying it properly and you don't have a license to do that. So,
Yep.
And this all happened in the area of West Saginaw and Fitting Avenue in Lansing Township, Ingham County. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Has the court complied with MCR 6.302, Ms. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you aware of any promises, threats, or inducements other than those already placed on the record, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson?
No, Your Honor.
The court finds the plea is understandingly and voluntarily made without undue influence, threats, or promises of leniency. It is an accurate plea. It's supported by the testimony. The plea is accepted. I have a sentencing date of Monday, July 26th at 4 p.m. if that works for you, Mr. Jackson.
As good as any, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Freeman,
Yes, ma'am.
do you consent to me doing your sentencing remotely, just like we did this plea?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you. I have to ask for your consent on sentencings. Then it'll be Monday, July 26th at 4 p.m. And then, you'll be contacted by the probation department, Mr. Freeman. They'll want to do a report that